Throughout the entire fight, there are these 3 wards that will be active that you can see mapped out on the side of your screen. These need to be full as much as possible to reduce raid damage. You fail 1 up by standing on the ward, but be careful since you get a stacking 2-minute debuff that reduces your max health by 10%. Stay around 5 stacks. Phase 1. Aethanel and Sirena spawn for the tanks to pick up. Bring them to the console for the first 5 seconds to get some good AoE on them. After 5 seconds or so, they'll cast Painful Memories, so they need to be out of line of sight of each other, which you can use the console for. Then after their Painful Memories is over, they'll cast Longing, so they should be stacked again for good AoE damage. If they're ever out of line of sight of each other, or can't see each other at the appropriate times, then they'll gain Torment, which is very bad for the tanks. The taunt swap mechanic is Aethanel's Cold Blast. Taunt swap the mini bosses at 3 stacks of that, because if you get a 4th stack, then you get stunned. Aethanel will cast Chain Lightning, which should always be interrupted. There will also be Lightning Orb blue swirls on the ground to dodge. Sirenas will cast Charged Spear on a target. That person must get towards the edge of the room, just make sure that no one else is in between the boss and the Charged Spear person. The bosses will also spawn purple stuff on the ground to not stand in. The wards will randomly lose energy from Azshara, who is on the sidelines, so make sure to keep them up as mentioned at the beginning. An Overzealous Hulk will spawn at the center and run towards a ward. All DPS must immediately switch to it, and it can be stunned or CC'd only once, so make sure to stun it. Beckon will occur on random players, which will have them charmed and walk towards the middle of the room. If they reach the middle within 8 seconds, then they become a bubble for the DPS to take out. So DPS should largely avoid the center of the room. Arcane Orbs will spawn. People need to stand in them to reduce the radius. Both mini bosses need to die at pretty much the same time, then intermission 1 occurs. Arcane Orbs will spawn and everyone will get a decree. If you get Suffer, which is a purple clock thing on your head, soak Arcane Orbs. Obey is a blue clock looking thing. Do not soak any Arcane Orbs. Stand together, purple circles around you, stand with other people who have it. Then there's Stand Alone, which is a watery mist looking thing around you. Do not stand near anyone. On Heroic, players might get 2 decrees, so follow what they say. There's also a new decree called Stay, which has you stay. Phase 2 occurs and Azshara joins the fight. The middle of the room will now be powered, but it's reversed from the rest. You want it to be low. Azshara will drain the ward which she is closest to, so tanks need to drag her to different wards periodically. The tank tanking her will get Arcane Vulnerability, just taunt off when it gets too high. Beckon will occur in this phase, but when the beckoned person reaches Queen Azshara, they get mind controlled. DPS them to knock them out. Random players will get Arcane Burst. This player should line of sight the raid and be dispelled. When she reaches 100 energy, she'll cast Arcane Detonation. Line of sight her with the console or the 2 heads, or you'll likely be one-shot. During phase 2, 3 sets of Naga ads will spawn and move towards the center. These need to die immediately and can be stunned and slowed. Ring of Pieces are really good to keep them out of the center, since if they reach the center, it gets empowered, increasing Azshara's damage. There's another ad that will spawn called Azshara's Indomitable. This needs to die immediately and cannot be slowed or stunned. If it reaches the center rune gains a lot of energy. When Azshara reaches 70%, Intermission 2 occurs. It's pretty much the same as Intermission 1, except Azshara is attackable. On Heroic, there's a new decree in this phase called March. You must keep moving. Phase 3. Azshara will cast Reversal of Fortune, which will swap the blue ward location with another ward. Tanks need to be fast to move her away from the blue ward. On Heroic, she uses this ability in phase 2 as well, and in phase 3 and 4 she'll use Greater Reversal of Fortune. It will turn all the ancient wards, which are the yellow ones, into the blue ward, so the tanks need to be fast to move her to wherever the yellow ward is. A Tide's Mistress will spawn on 2 of the 3 outside wards and slowly drain power from it. Your group needs to immediately kill whichever is closer and interrupt all their abilities. They'll eventually put a crystalline shield on themselves. There will be a loyal Miradon Naga that spawns that needs to be tanked. He'll cast Charged Spear on a random player. This player needs to get to the other side of the shielded Naga to break her shield so DPS can kill her. After both are dead, kill the loyal Myrmidon to enter phase 4. No more ads. The tank will get Void Touch, decreasing their healing received for 30 seconds. Taunt swap every time it falls off. Nether portals will spawn randomly, don't stand in them. Piercing Gaze happens from the side of the encounter, don't be in the red line before it goes off. Beckon will still happen in this phase, but it'll turn you into a Naga. Players need to kill you, which will actually kill you. Then finally, at the start of this phase, Azshara will cast Overload on the Titan console, which gives it a bunch of energy charges. Someone in your raid needs to walk up to the console, use their extraction button in a staggered way since it'll do a moderate amount of raid-wide damage to the raid. It will also cause one of 2 effects: Short Circuit, which will completely drain a ward, or Essence of Azeroth on a random raid member. This increases their haste by 50% for 40 seconds, but after 40 seconds, they will die. The player who uses the console will get a 30-second dot system shock for healers to watch out for. All of this while keeping the wards charged. And that's the entire fight, and the entire Eternal Palace raid.